Michael Schumacher could win world title number 7 if everything goes according to his plan. But the Belgian Grand Prix is very rarely predictable, a bit like the weather in the Ardennes. Let's join Martin Brundle. First of all, say good afternoon to James. James Allen.
Thank you, Jim. Hello, everybody. Well, sometimes in sport, things are just meant to be. Johnny Wilkinson dropping that World Cup winning drop goal, for example. And today, here at Spa-Francorchamps, we expect to see Michael Schumacher clinching a record 7th World Championship. There he is. But as Jim says, Spa has turned up some pretty rum things in the past. Could well happen again here today. The weather at the moment, sunny. You can see a beautiful helicopter shot looking down on the forests and this majestic circuit. The most fitting place for such a unique achievement to take place. Spa has never seen a world champion crowned here before. It's also the track where Schumacher made his Grand Prix debut back in 1991 and won his first race a year later. Oh, and it's also Ferrari's 700th Grand Prix as well. Spa, a real driver's circuit, so where better to salute the ultimate driver. Schumacher's task today, well, it's a fairly modest one, to get 2 points more than his teammate Rubens Barrichello. And after crawling in 8th place at Suzuka last year to win his 6th world title, you can be sure that he really wants to nail this one with a win here this afternoon. But it's not been a perfect weekend for him so far. You can see the Renault there on pole position of Jarno Trulli, nicked pole of Michael Schumacher with a very bold decision to go on the intermediate tyres yesterday on a drying track. Jenson Button went out just before Jarno Trulli. He made the wrong choice with his BAR team. And but for that, Button could have been right up at the front as well. You can see some clouds gathering. It's been pretty much like that all day. Not a single drop of rain has fallen while we've been at the track since about 8 or 9 o'clock this morning. There then is the start grid. It's Renault 1 and 3, as it was at Monaco, the only occasion this year on which Schumacher has not won the Grand Prix. That occasion, of course, Jarno Trulli winning. And look out for a great battle between the Renaults and BAR, locked in this tremendous scrap for second in the Constructors' Championship. Just 8 points the difference, and a lot could change here this afternoon. Well, it should be an exciting race, partly because it's Spa-Francorchamps, Martin, but also partly because I get a sense that there's a real difference in race strategy here in terms of the fuel that people carried yesterday in that very strange qualifying session. And certainly on the weighbridge, the weight limits of the different cars, a lot of different people doing different tactics. It should be quite interesting this afternoon.
Yes, of course, we're not allowed to know the exact figures, but we are led to believe there's a wide variation, wider than normal in terms of the ideas and strategies they went out to in that very wet and variable qualifying session. Especially difficult here to make the decisions, James, because it's a long pit stop. It's a 50 miles an hour limit here, 80 kilometres per hour. It takes them 5 to 6 seconds longer here than most circuits. So it's 21 seconds plus the refueling and tyre stop, because the speed limit cuts in very early. So they do a long way at 50 miles an hour. And I think that plays heavily on the tactics too. But they were really all very much thrown a double six yesterday with the single lap wet qualifying. Went out with different states of aerodynamic downforce and setups. They can't change the setup until the first stop. If they've got too much wing on, you can't really change the rear wing quickly, other than just taking the gurney flap, the little 90-degree flap out on the back, and giving the front wings a couple of twists on the adjusters there. So you can't fundamentally change the level of downforce of the car without unbolting pieces. So they can have a tweak at the first stop. Meanwhile, they've got to live with whatever they chose to go out in for qualifying yesterday.
So let's look at the wing angles as see in the opening lap, certainly on this parade lap when the cars are going quite slowly. See how steep the rear wing is in particular, and the front wing a little bit more difficult to see. Looking at the speed trap times yesterday, Jarno Trulli, for example, 308 kilometres an hour through the speed trap, which is under 200 miles an hour. Jenson Button 320, so a significant difference in straight line speed, and that's what you were referring to when you spoke to Flavio Briatore, isn't it? Have they put too much wing on Trulli's car? Is he going to be a sitting duck on the straight?
Yes, looking into that a bit further, and where they put the speed traps, obviously when it's wet you brake early, and I think some cars may just have been braking before the speed trap, giving a false impression of just how much wing they were carrying. And we'll find out soon. I think it's sort of generally expected that the two Renaults will lead into La Source, and Michael will then pick them off relatively easily, because he'll have a better car while the Michelin's are going through their graining phase. But let's wait and see what happens. Another man to watch, of course, Barrichello in 6th place. He's got a faster car than his grid position. And the best scrap, surely, as we've already pointed out earlier in the show, Raikkonen 10th, Montoya 11th, Jenson Button 12th. Well out of position, and we should keep an eye on Sato back in 15th as well. The BAR Hondas definitely faster than their grid slots suggest.
Certainly are. They got it very wrong yesterday on the tyres. Suggestions that Michelin have not necessarily brought the right dry tyres either for all of their cars. Everybody feeling that these tyres are struggling, really. They're a little bit too soft for the weekend. Only Toyota seem to be 100% happy with the tyres that they've got on the car. Bridgestone with Ferrari and Sauber, Jordan and Minardi as well, particularly with the Ferrari and Sauber teams. They seem very happy looking at the long runs in free practice on Friday when it was dry all day. The Ferrari looked awesomely strong and the tyres very, very consistent indeed. So Schumacher will be aggressive this afternoon. He will want to beat those 2 Renaults to clinch it with a win, as we said, but who knows? If he finds himself third in the first corner, he's going to have his work cut out.
Very grippy on the start line, James, on both sides. It's brand new tarmac. We haven't been here for 2 years. Very little racing gone on, and looks like it's tremendously grippy. And of course, a very short run. I wonder if the Renaults will be able to unleash their full start potential, because no sooner are you underway here from the front of the grid than you're in the braking zone for La Source.
Absolutely wonderful circuit, this Spa-Francorchamps. It's the only shortened version of a classic racing track from the past that really holds its head up high. Many of them, like the Oostenrijk Ring, absolutely emasculated compared to the old track. But Spa used to be a 7-mile blast around, and that really used to grab everybody's attention. Some terrifying corners, trees by the side of the racetrack. And until they started chopping the circuits down like the Nürburgring and Spa in the 60s and 70s. This, though, is still a magnificent circuit. It's got the widest variety of different corners of any track in Formula One, from the 40-mile-an-hour hairpin La Source to awesome corners like Blanchimont here, or Eau Rouge as well. Lots of corners with high G being pulled, medium-speed corners, a tremendous test of the car and of the driver. And was one of your favourites? You put it up there?
Yeah, absolutely. Up in the top 3 of Grand Prix circuits. Absolutely no doubt about it. So we saw Michael Schumacher there just trying to get as much energy into the brakes, the tyres. And that's virtually lock to lock in a Formula One car, what you saw there. You cross your arms and it's just over a turn to go completely from lock to lock. And they're hopeless things to get in and out of the garage. They're about as opposite to a London taxi as you could ever imagine. This then is a high-level view of the new and generally disliked bus stop area. The old track is painted sort of lime green there, you can see it, and they wanted to try to stop the cars jumping across the curbs and cheating despite putting bollards and tyres and everything else there. Front wings were getting broken, cars were spinning off, but hey, so what? That made it quite interesting, didn't it? And you can't just keep sanitising every area of every racetrack around the world.
A lot of people have been anticipating that there will be less overtaking as a result of these changes. We will find out over the course of the next 44 laps whether that's an improvement or a spoiler here at Spa-Francorchamps. On board then with Michael Schumacher, forming up for his 207th Grand Prix, and he hopes his date with destiny.
Truly, with his car already pointing slightly left, his intentions are absolutely clear. I'm going to get off the line and block Michael's path, but he wants to be careful Michael doesn't stream straight back up the inside, although Alonso could well be parked there.
Hold on to your seats then. When the lights go out, Schumacher will be aiming to be in 7th heaven here at Spa-Francorchamps. Go! Trulli away well. Look at Alonso, look at Schumacher. Cuts across to try and block him. Coulthard, though, is having a go as well. Is he up the inside of Schumacher, who goes round the side-by-side? Kimi's had an incident there. Looks like a Jaguar involved as well. The Sauber and the BAR's caught up in that, but Raikkonen, Martin, certainly involved in an incident there into La Source.
Yes, and Coulthard did make it past Michael Schumacher. Worst case scenario then for him. Great for Renault and McLaren and Barrichello. Oh, and the car off there. Rear suspension broken off. Wow, just missed him. Sarton and another spinner. They'll have to red flag it. We've now got a fire, so red flags will have to be out. It says safety car standing by, but I really can't believe it is deployed. Surely they've got a red flag this one.
That was a very, very amazing series of incidents, wasn't it? All the way up the hill. Bruni in the Minardi. It's a very small fire, if a fire at all. He's waving, you can see. And that's Giorgio Pantano, who sort of ran into the back of him at quite slow speed, but there was a series of incidents, clearly VAR involved in that as well, of Takuma Sato went sideways along the straight. That's the car of the Japanese just pulled off to the side of the track. Didn't see who caught him at the top of Eau Rouge, but...
Well, I think Sato probably had a suspension failure from contact into and out of the first corner, James. I wouldn't be at all surprised. So there then is the Minardi, the Jordan and the Sauber, the BAR rather, and it's absolutely incredible that somebody didn't cream into the side of Takuma Sato. Remember, he had a dreadful accident at the Österreich-ring, didn't he, when somebody hit the side of him. We're watching it now. What's happening up the front there? It seems as if it's difficult to know which one is Sato from this high level. And yes, he's dropped it. So there was contact at the top of the hill, James.
Yeah, I think what happened, it was right on the top of the screen. I think Mark Webber was involved in this, because there are 4 cars who have not made it through to the second sector of the lap. They're Mark Webber, Takuma Sato, Gianmaria Bruni and Giorgio Pantano. We've seen, there's the 3 of them, Sato, Pantano in the yellow car, Bruni with the flames out the back. We haven't seen Webber there, but we just saw a little bit of contact between him and Sato at the very top of the hill there, and certainly he has not come round again.
Yeah, I think that's, if we saw it again, we picked those 2 out, and I think you're absolutely right, James. It was contact right on the top of Radion, and Sato then spinning off. Webber then has ground to a halt somewhere out of view. This is Barrichello and Kimi Räikkönen on the top, and now we're going to see, there we go, yes, they did touch. Webber getting in to the left rear corner, and that's why he hasn't come around. His front suspension's gone completely. Button, it looked like, has already lost his front wing somewhere as well. Total carnage. One Minardi spinning the other off then, and then I have to say Pantano looking like he had a rather silly accident, an unnecessary accident. Button in the pits for a new nose cone.
Yeah, Button, Massa, Baumgartner, Barrichello, Heidfeld and Panis all come into the pits. One of the drivers has just joined them as well. Who's that? No, Button back out on track. Here's another look at it. You can see Sato going up the inside, and there's I think it's a Sauber on his right. He's in the middle of a 3-car sandwich at the top of Eau Rouge. Haven't seen that too many times before.
No. And let's have a look and see which car that was. I don't think it was a Sauber. They'll be further back than that, I would have thought, because the Saubers are still busy running into each other behind the incident. So, and then, as I say, Pantano sort of having a I'll go and join that accident moment. But I know there's a reluctance to stop these Grand Prix because of all the TV schedules, but this is surely the case where you have to stop the race. A lot of contact in the first corner. We haven't seen a replay of that yet. Truly leads to Alonso and Coulthard. These are racing laps effectively. They all count towards the Grand Prix, and the drivers are now saving fuel crazily as well as they're going around, just coasting around, trying to keep as much fuel in the tank as they can and benefit from this. Ted?
Here, Martin, the Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello did come in to repair some race damage. They were going to bring Kimi Räikkönen in because it's believed that he's also sustained some damage. McLaren have now stood down on that. You saw the button stop. They also put some fuel in that. And I can tell you from Williams that Montoya is pretty sure that he's also hit a Sauber, but he doesn't think the damage is too bad.
You know, I'd like to see a replay of the last source. Here we go, right on cue. Watch out for Räikkönen.
Yeah, Räikkönen just turns in on Massa. That looked like Räikkönen's fault already. There's a Jaguar nose cone gone. So a Toyota parking itself on the right-hand side. And that sort of triggered a concertina effect, and they were still all together when they got to Eau Rouge.
Yeah, you could see there was a Toyota pulled off slowly to the right on the side. I wonder whether he had lost some bodywork, because it looked to me as though Mark Webber ran over a large piece of someone's front wing. That will obviously have caused him some problems going down the hill. He then found himself with Takuma Sato trying to pass him on the right, and I think it was a Sauber, I'm not quite sure who it was, on the right-hand side at the very top of the hill. Possibly Fisichella, possibly Massa, who knows, but either way, there were 3 of them abreast at the top of Eau Rouge, and that spelled trouble, and trouble we duly got. So here we are working round at the end of coming to finish the second lap. We're behind the safety car here at Spa-Francorchamps. That is race order. Trulli, Alonso, Coulthard, Michael Schumacher, the top 4. Not exactly the dream start then for Schumacher's dream day. Räikkönen has done very well to get himself up into 5th. Has he sustained damage? Montoya, 6th. Same question. Fisichella 7th place, Pitsonia 8th, 9th Clean, 10th Ricardo Zonta, who started at the very back of the grid, so he's really benefited from all of that carnage on the first lap. Jenson Button we saw having to make a pit stop. He lost his nose cone front wing, so he is down in 11th place, which ironically is more or less where he qualified. He was 12th on the grid. Massa is back into the pits again, so clearly whatever's wrong with that Sauber is not getting fixed. And Rubens Barrichello is also in again.
Now here's a view from Montoya's car of the start of the race. I think what happens is the Jaguar gets itself out of shape, and Montoya takes the pair of them, but just behind him then is where Sato and the Jaguar of Webber got it together. That's the third car in the sandwich.
They are. The third man is revealed as being Juan Pablo Montoya, as Rubens Barrichello comes into the pits. Also Felipe Massa as well. You can see work going on to the right rear corner of that car.
So we've got 16 runners, 2 of them wounded by the looks of it in the terms of Massa and Barrichello. Panis recovered from whatever it was that parked him up on the exit of turn 1 of the first lap, and is now up into 13th place. So the 16 runners, assuming these 2 get back out, it looks like the Ferrari's been tagged at the back then, and it's quite a long job. Of course, you know how much load goes through that rear wing, and they just can't be thrown on with a couple of clips or screws that they've really seriously bolted on to the gearbox of the car, and that's why it always takes some time. But with such, we've got a pace out there of 3 minutes 28 behind the safety car, so they've got a couple of minutes. They can still probably get Rubens to the back of the pack again. Engine will be off in case, well, it would absolutely overheat, although the Sauber, I don't know if they've restarted that or he's kept it running. They're just trying to put some fans in now, but I would have thought it makes a lot of sense to just switch that off. There then is the car park at the top of the hill. There's another one across the other side of the racetrack. A replay of the start. The 2 Renaults away beautifully. Coulthard getting himself nicely in position to nail Michael Schumacher on the exit. He'll run him high and wide. Schumacher will have to lift out of it. So you've got Renault, McLaren. There's Panis's problem. And then the rest of the midfield just all in the same spot.
There you can see, I think the Jaguar of Mark Webber, car number 14, we saw involved in that incident at the top of Eau Rouge, just being pushed out of the way. Unfortunate for him. The Jaguar team, well, they've had 9 blank weekends already this weekend, this season, where they've scored no World Championship points, and their main man is out of the picture. Christian Klein is still in 9th place, though. Opportunity for him perhaps to score points. Barrichello has had his rear wing replaced, his engine restarted, and he goes back out on track. At the moment he's shown as still being on the same lap as the rest of the field, who are now, as you can see, just coming through the bus stop. So Barrichello within a few seconds of going a lap down behind a safety car, from which it would be extremely difficult to recover. We're behind a safety car then at Spa-Francorchamps. Heck of a lot of racing still to come here in the coming minutes and hours. Spa-Francorchamps, the safety car is pulling in and the cars are go. We're racing then in the Belgian Grand Prix. Trulli, Alonso, Coulthard, Michael Schumacher, you can see going defensive. Raikkonen attacking Montoya in 6th place. Fisichella 7th, Pitsonia 8th, 9th, and you can see a pass there. That's Jenson Button going past Ricardo Zonta. Now look at this, side by side down the hill.
Raikkonen then takes Michael Schumacher. Schumi absolutely asleep on the restart. Has he got a problem? He's now going to be under pressure immediately from Montoya, and the Renaults just scampered away at the front, strung the pack out, and Schumacher didn't seem to be anywhere there or thereabouts, and Montoya having a look around the outside. Michael will certainly soon cut that route off, but he is under pressure. Raikkonen just steaming away in the distance. He's often struggles, of course, when the tyre temperatures and pressures are down, and he looks like he's got no speed at all in that Ferrari at this stage.
Yeah, we've seen it throughout the season, haven't we? Particularly off the grid, where quite often they lead a slow lap just to compromise the Ferrari in those Bridgestone tyres. They don't like getting cold when the restarts or the starts. And now Montoya, if he's going to get past Michael Schumacher, he's got to do it really on this lap before Schumacher's tyres get fully up to temperature. The man who relishes any opportunity to get past Michael Schumacher. Montoya chose to go the outside into the Les Combes chicane at the end of the long straight there, which is an interesting choice, but it didn't work out for him. Schumacher able to cover it and has his moment gone.
Michael Schumacher lost another 1.1 seconds in the mid-sector. That's why there's nobody in his immediate vision in front of him. And look, Raikkonen's just so long gone. This is Montoya's one and only chance, I'd imagine, with Schumacher. Surely he had to really get in there early. And look, Montoya said, I'll go around the outside then if that's the trick you're going to play on me. Schumacher with no grip at all. He's down then to P6. And this is Raikkonen and David Coulthard. A Renault 1-2, a McLaren 3-4.
Yeah, Coulthard 3rd, Raikkonen 4th, and the new bus stop, you can overtake at it. The proof, Juan Pablo Montoya around the outside of Michael Schumacher. Sensational move. Smoke and dust coming off the back of Coulthard's car. Contact with the ground, that's completely normal. But Raikkonen has got extra speed. Look at this. He's alongside his teammate. We cut to the two Renaults, but where is Raikkonen? At the back, he's side by side, just as Mika Häkkinen was with Michael Schumacher all those years ago, and I think he must have pulled that move off. We can't see yet. The computer's not telling us. We didn't see it because we were looking at something else. There you go. Raikkonen is 3rd. Coulthard down to 4th.
Yeah, Michael Schumacher a full 4.1 seconds slower than the Renaults on that opening lap. He did, of course, have to yield to Montoya and go defensive in so many places. But and he's still he's hanging on to Montoya now. But he's on the harder Bridgestone tyres. He may get some dividend and some benefit later on. But right now, he's struggling.
He's going to have to really work for this one here this afternoon. Let's have a look at the replay. Raikkonen always had the speed on Coulthard.
Yes, he had a better run off the top of Radion and the slipstream effect. Now he's got the line into Les Combes. There's equal grip across the racetrack. They're always great grip on the inside there. Raikkonen really just hurtling off after the Renaults.
Raikkonen, the fastest man on the racetrack at the moment. As you can see, computer bears that out. He is absolutely flying in 3rd place. Trulli then, Alonso. Little lock-up from Jarno Trulli, coming under pressure from his teammate Alonso. Raikkonen 3rd, Coulthard 4th, Montoya 5th, Michael Schumacher 6th, 7th Fisichella, 8th Pitsonia, 9th Christian Klein, and 10th Jenson Button. Fast and furious start here at Spa-Francorchamps.
He took a second out of the Renaults. Raikkonen then with a 45.6, fastest lap of the race, a second faster than the Renaults, and 2 seconds faster than Michael Schumacher. Schumacher still without the speed, but the man on the move by a long way. Kimi Raikkonen currently P3, absolutely flying. 2.2 seconds adrift of leader Trulli then at the end of that last lap.
You can see Alonso there in the slipstream of Trulli. Doesn't have a go this time. A lot of question marks going into this Grand Prix about how much wing level the Renaults would carry, what their straight line speeds would be like, and you have to say at the moment they are comparable with everybody else. 326 and 328. That's over 200 miles an hour, just under 205 miles an hour then for the two Renaults, quicker even than the McLarens behind them. Montoya is faster, Michael Schumacher 7 or 8 Ks faster, but it's not that significant a difference. Renaults certainly do seem to have hooked up race cars at the moment.
Well, interestingly, Raikkonen was sort of split the Renaults in the first sector, and this is a replay of Montoya. Michael Schumacher really defending his inside line. I don't think he imagined Montoya would try that one. Brilliantly opportunist, and maybe making him look like a new boy. Do you remember when Michael was going to win his 6th championship last year? What a dreadful race he had in Suzuka. Ran into anybody that was moving, but still just crept home with a difficult and probably one of his worst ever Grand Prix. At the moment, he's not having a great one. Whether it's grip or whether he's just not on good form, I don't know.
On that occasion, he needed Rubens Barrichello to win the race ahead of Kimi Raikkonen in order to win the title. He himself crawled in 8th place, but today Barrichello, the only man who stands between Michael Schumacher and the 7th world title. He needs to score 2 points more than his teammate. At the moment, Barrichello, after all those problems, is half a minute down on the leader in 16th place with a lot of work to do, and Schumacher in 6th. Well, if he just stays there, he's the world champion, but you know his pride will not allow him to do that. Now, Mark Webber, we saw involved in 2 of those incidents at the start. Louise Goodman is talking to him.
Well, Mark, it was quite difficult for us to work out initially what had happened. Then it must have been more difficult when you're in the thick of it.
Well, yeah, I made a good start and thought I'd have a crack at Giancarlo, which worked quite well. But then looks like I did. I braked a little bit too late because it was also quite dusty, as I found out when I got down there. And I thought, I'm going to have trouble stopping this. And if Rubens took his normal line, which is totally fine, but unfortunately I just didn't have enough room to miss him, and my mistake. And it can happen at La Source, so I'm disappointed for the guys in the team. All the effort goes in. It's not normal to go out on the first lap, but this happens sometimes.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, I think he braked a lot too late into La Source on that occasion. So he lost his front wing against the back of Barrichello. Barrichello's replaced that rear wing of his. He's down in 15th place at the moment, fighting around in the traffic. And then Mark inevitably ran wide at the top of Eau Rouge with no front wing. Sato tried to pass him. At the same time, Montoya passed the pair of them, squeezing Sato into the Jaguar, and they were both eliminated there and then. And very lucky for Takuma Sato not to be rammed into the side at the top of the hill. Anyway, everybody unheard. 4 cars out of the race. We can watch Barrichello come through the field. Jenson Button's now up to 10. The lead of truly over Raikkonen was 1.8 seconds. It's now 1.9 seconds. And Raikkonen then a tenth slower than the Renaults that time. And now Michael Schumacher getting into the 1 minute 46s. And we've noticed also Fisichella's slow on the Bridgestones at this stage. And so they're taking a time to come in. So now I think you'll see Schumacher beginning to find the pace we were expecting.
Well, it's interesting because on Friday Schumacher was in a league of his own on the long runs. His pace very, very consistent. Renault didn't seem to have much pace in the pre-practice, but here today they're very consistent, going very well. And you can see there Barrichello, that's putting a move on Nick Heidfeld. That's Barrichello then up into 14th place, now 35 seconds behind race leader Jarno Trulli. And as I say, the Michelins at the moment on this Renault being very consistent, delivering up some good lap times. We had a lot of rain here yesterday. The track, all the rubber was washed off the track, and very little running at all. No dry running of any description for anybody. And well, it's a bit of a lottery going into today's race. No one was quite sure what was going to happen, and we still don't know how much fuel everyone is carrying. That will start to become a little clearer, I think, in the next 5 to 10 laps when they start making their pit stops. There you can see Antonio Pizzonia. He's in the last of the points paying positions at the moment in 8th, backing up, replacing Ralf Schumacher once again, looking for his 3rd points finish in a row. And Ted Kravitz has news for us.
We're talking about fuel, James. I'm down here at McLaren. 4 seconds now, the gap between Raikkonen and Coulthard. And surely, guys, Raikkonen is fueled less than DC. I'll tell you what makes me think that is during that safety car period, McLaren were out ready for Kimi. So that was his window. He could have pitted then and refueled if he wanted to. So what about it? A few more laps less for Kimi than DC?
I think it's possible. They fancied Kimi on pole. He was very quick in the wet and just got caught out by a little bit of extra rain. He is carrying more downforce. It's quite clear to see. He's got quite a bit more rear wing on than Coulthard has. Clean pits in the remaining Jaguar. So maybe as the track's so green, that's giving him his pace at the moment. We'll watch out for when they pit. I think everybody is absolutely clueless, apart from the people running each individual car, as to when they'll be in the pits. But Jaguar then the first to blink.
So we had 4 laps under the safety car. This is lap 10. Obviously the cars will have saved some fuel during that period. They will have used considerably less fuel than they would at racing speeds, but that's still a pretty early stop then for Christian Klien. I think Mark Webber, you can safely say, would have also been pitting pretty early in the Jaguar. We're told by the F1 ITV pit crew that the Renault team are getting ready to receive 1 one of their two drivers as well. Certainly qualifying first and third yesterday was partly due to an inspired tyre choice, but clearly it may have had something to do with carrying a little bit less fuel as well. This is going to change the picture considerably with Raikkonen and Coulthard now. Raikkonen 2 seconds behind Trulli, and Coulthard 6 seconds behind Trulli. You can see there is the crew. We're being told it's for Jarno Trulli, Martin.
Yeah, surely Michael Schumacher is fat with fuel. He's running 6th, doing a 46.6. Fisichella on similar, probably not quite as good tyres, running 7th, just behind him, virtually matching his pace. And so you've really got to think Michael's hauling. It costs about 3.5 tenths per 10 kilos of fuel around there. It's one of the longest lap of the year as well, 4.3 miles, and truly they're getting very untidy over the curbs at the new bus stop.
And here you can see, hitting the pit lane speed limiter, visor up. The race leader then comes into the pits on lap 11. Alonso takes the lead with Raikkonen very close to him now, 1.1 seconds behind. Coulthard also has crossed the line. Montoya goes into 4th. Michael Schumacher's going to go past as Trulli finally reaches the pit box.
Yeah, it's a long way down there at 50 miles an hour. Seems like an eternity. It seems like you've parked almost. It's a horrible feeling. The engine's spluttering away on the rev limiter. The car feels dreadful. It doesn't feel like the brilliant thoroughbred you've just taken through Blanchimont. It feels like a stuttery old thing you're trying to drag home.
I think he's come out between Jenson Button and Ricardo Zonta. If that's the case, he's re-emerged in 9th place, Jarno Trulli. Certainly saw Button go through. There's quite a big gap there between Button and Zonta, 6 seconds, and we believe that he's slotted himself into that. So Alonso leading Raikkonen, Coulthard 3rd, Montoya 4th, Michael Schumacher, Fisichella, as Martin said, more or less the same sort of lap times for those two. You can see Massa here on the attack. It's Ricardo Zonta in 10th place.
Zonta started last, of course, had a very poor qualifying, spun off and generally got himself out of sync. And so from the back of the grid, he is up to 10. What interested me on Klean's outlap, not that he's really a contender this afternoon, but he did the fastest middle and end sector of anybody so far in the race. So the new Michelins are looking, when they're brand spanking new, are looking quite handy. We'll watch out when we see Trulli get up to speed.
Very well spotted, Martin. Yeah, absolutely true. I tell you who's going really quick at the moment. That's this man, Fernando Alonso. Fastest middle sector of anybody so far. Is he about to make a pit stop? They quite often space them a lap apart. No, it'll be perhaps 2 or maybe even more. So Trulli was carrying considerably less fuel than Fernando Alonso. You use, well, nearly 4 kilos of fuel per lap here. And as Martin said, every 10 kilos of fuel is worth almost 4/10 of a second. So even a couple of laps here is quite a significant time difference in qualifying. Well, Takuma Sato we saw involved in that 3 in a breast tackle at the top of Eau Rouge. He's now talking to Louise Goodman.
Takuma, you were really a victim of events happening up ahead of you in that race, weren't you?
Yeah, really extremely disappointed.
Sorry to interrupt you, Takuma, but we've got a spin there from Alonso, but he has managed to keep going. It's cost him the lead. Raikkonen has gone through. He has rejoined, but well, that was a very dramatic incident.
Yeah, I think he's just dragging some. I wonder. There he goes again. He's got oil spilling out on his rear tyres. Would be pretty sure of it. Alonso, then, that is definitely out of the lead. He'll not get out of there. He'll be buried down. And Alonso, then, I would be sure, has got an oil leak at the back of the car. Raikkonen leads the Grand Prix. David Coulthard second. A couple of Toyotas did drive out of there, but not once when you first break through the gravel. The car bellies out on the under tray, and that's as far away from the pits as you can get. Look, turns in normally, and he will be more surprised than we were even when it just swaps ends. And he'll think, how did I make that mistake? I don't think it was his mistake, because he has another sort of pathetic spin, really, and it's totally unpredictable spin when he gets to the bottom of the hill in the hairpin. And that is a McLaren. I think it's David Coulthard with a puncture then. Coulthard, well, just crawling back to the pits, all going off here.
What a dramatic lap. This is lap 12 at Spa-Francorchamps. We've lost race leader Fernando Alonso, and now David Coulthard, who was in second place behind his teammate Kimi Raikkonen, has got a right rear puncture and has got to coast around. I wonder if it's because of debris left on the track after all those accidents in the first lap. Certainly we've seen quite a few punctures. Indianapolis springs to mind, where carbon fibre left on the racetrack had a huge puncture caused to, Ralf Schumacher, of course, and Fernando Alonso. Very dramatic moments then here at Spa-Francorchamps, and Ted Kravitz has news for us.
Oh, James, it happened at exactly the wrong moment. The team came out when DC must have just been going up the straight after Eau Rouge, so they knew. He told them on the radio they knew that he had a problem. The tyres were out. The team is still in the pit lane now and up for the unscheduled stop. But is DC going to make it back?
Well, as long as the carcass of the tyre either flies off like a polo mint and gets out of the way, or stays where it is, as long as it doesn't unravel itself and start smashing the rear wing to pieces. And I'm pretty sure there, Alonso, I think we're on board. Looking back then, Coulthard, I would imagine he had a big fright when that one went. There are no slow speed or small accidents around this place. Raikkonen leads. Coulthard desperately in need of a strong result today, was in a good second place, and he'll sneak across the no man's land straight into the end of the pit lane. He does look as if he can rejoin the race, but he's surely out of the points. Button then up into P6 at this time. Raikkonen leads by 10.5 seconds, and interestingly 3 seconds faster than anybody else. I wonder if Alonso's dropped some oil up there.
I wonder. Very interesting. Coulthard's made it then. Into the pits he comes. They'll be looking to see if there's any damage at the back corner. Can you see any, Ted Kravitz?
Well, no, but more interestingly than that, they've just brought out Kimi Raikkonen's tyres as well. So there you go, David goes out. I'm just looking at the back of the car. No, there doesn't seem to be much damage. But anyway, Kimi Raikkonen's got to come in this lap. Here he comes. It's great work from the McLaren boys to get both sets of tyres. He stops on his marks. The fuel hose goes in. So there we are, the race leader changing tyres. He must have been shorter on fuel than David Coulthard. And that's a long stop, isn't it, guys? What does that make it?
We haven't got a clock on it, I'm afraid, Ted, so we can't tell you. Very, very frustrating for us that we can't tell you, but it did look like the fuel hose was connected for a long time. Quite a bit of gas went into that car, but in the meantime then, Raikkonen race leader pits. Montoya takes the lead. He's leading by 5 seconds from Michael Schumacher in second place. There is your new race leader, BMW Williams driver Juan Montoya, and we saw him make that stunning move past Michael Schumacher in the bus stop chicane. We had a video diary from him earlier on as we look at a leery-looking Jordan going up the hill. We had a video diary from Juan Pablo Montoya and his wife Connie in our build-up programme, and we didn't see what he had for breakfast, Martin, but it was clearly something pretty potent.
Yeah, obviously 3 Weetabix or something, because they're going much slower now though, James. They're 3 to 4 seconds off the pace. I'd be pretty sure that Alonso dropped quite a lot of oil, and that is Barrichello thinking he's going to pass the Toyota Panis, and nowhere near when he got there. The Toyota with some pretty good speed then at the end of the straight, and that is a fight for 10th and 11th. Panis, and look, Barrichello, again, that's where Alonso spun off, so locking a wheel on the way in. The track is pretty shiny in certain parts at the moment, and cars all look a handful. Montoya leads by 1.5 seconds then. We'll watch Raikkonen as he's rejoining the race. Coulthard has rejoined, as you saw, down in 15th, and currently what is last place with Alonso's retirement. DC losing a humongous amount of time getting back to the pits.
There you can see Rubens Barrichello just before. He's up to 11th place with Olivier Panis there, also on board with Juan Montoya. And that retirement of Fernando Alonso, well, it's really not been very good for Renault. Ever since the Canadian Grand Prix, they've struggled to get 2 cars home in the points, sometimes no cars home in the points. And you compare that with their finesse and reliability in the early part of the season. Difficult moment then for the Renault team, who need all the points they can get in the battle with BAR. Fisichella pops into the pits then from 4th place. Giancarlo Fisichella, terrific weekend for him once again. Those Bridgestone wet tyres doing the business for him yesterday, and his maturity and consistency also proving their worth here this afternoon. Looks to me though as Michael Schumacher is getting closer and closer to the back of Juan Montoya as we work on lap 15. Montoya leading Schumacher. Pitsonia is up into 3rd place.
Schumacher 0.002 of a second faster than Juan Pablo Montoya on the previous lap, and the gap stayed at 1.5 seconds therefore, and Pitsonia in the second, Williams, you say, now currently up to 3rd. Raikkonen on a solid first sector time. He's not really popping in anything exceptional at the moment. He did have a 10.5 second lead before the pit stops began, so surely when it all nets laps out, he should still carry that lead. Depends on the pace he can get up to with heavy fuel. Gap then down to 1 second in the middle of the track there.
Yeah, middle sector this lap's been very kind to Michael Schumacher. You can see him getting closer all the time. Williams, we're being told, are in the pit lane, ready to receive Juan Montoya. This is lap 15 of the Belgian Grand Prix. There are the engineers up on the timing wall, clearly waiting for their man. As we look at Olivier Panis, he's in 10th place. And that Ferrari behind him is Rubens Barrichello as the race leader pits.
Yes, and he's dropped Barrichello. I find that interesting. That remember, Michael only needs 2 more points than Rubens Barrichello to take the World Championship, and Barrichello can't even stay up with Panis down in 10th place. So I wonder if he's got other damage to that car from the first corner incident. But, another Ferrari then without anything like the pace we were expecting.
So this is the moment now. Schumacher, if he's got a bit more fuel in the car than the others, because clearly he has, he's still out on the racetrack, he's in the lead, and he's got an empty track in front of him as Montoya makes a bit of a move there on Massa, who's got more speed than him. This is a battle for position, 8th place in fact, side by side into Eau Rouge. You can't do it, can you? Surely not. No, and Montoya has to lift, because you can't go side by side to Eau Rouge, certainly not at racing speed.
Now Massa was entitled to do that. It is for position, as he has not, in fact he has made 2 pit stops as Massa. He's not a lap down though, so you've got to assume that was for position. His 2 pit stops were made under the safety car, and this is heading down the hill. Massa has the racing line. Montoya very close to going straight on there. So that plays beautifully into Michael Schumacher's hands, because Montoya only had just over a second on him before the stop. And as I felt earlier on in the afternoon, the Ferrari with just about the heaviest fuel load.
Yeah, we did see Kimi Raikkonen though put quite a lot of fuel in there, obviously playing a different tactical game. At the moment his pace is pretty reasonable, and Michael Schumacher is not taking an enormous amount of time out of anybody. We're not doing purple sectors here on the computer, Michael Schumacher, so it's been a modest in-lap if he is coming in this time, as we're being told by our pit crew. Yes, the race leader, yet another different race leader, ducks into the pits. Alonso has led this race, Trulli has led it, Raikkonen has led it, Montoya has led it, Michael Schumacher has now led it, and guess who's leading it now? Antonio Pizzonia in a Williams, yes, leading the Belgian Grand Prix as Schumacher pits.
So his in-lap was solid rather than brilliant, as you say, James. Let's see, with a fresh set of tyres that haven't been round on 4 laps behind the safety car, whether they'll give him more grip and the speed he was expecting to have. Zonta's also pitted in the Toyota, and where's Raikkonen? There then is Montoya. It's cost him. He's still tucked up behind Massa. So Michael Schumacher then has cleared Juan Pablo Montoya. Where's Kimi Raikkonen?
Yeah, part of the reason for that is that Massa's lap there, Montoya stuck behind him at 1:48.7 compared to Schumacher, who's doing low 1:47. So right there, 2 seconds gone for Juan Pablo Montoya, just being behind Felipe Massa. And of course he had to back right off the throttle in the middle of Eau Rouge. But here, filling in for Ralf Schumacher, super sub they will call him from now on, is Antonio Pizzonia. He's leading a Grand Prix for the first time in his career. Okay, he hasn't made a pit stop, that's the main reason why he's in this position, but nevertheless he's seen P1 on his pit board, and what a wonderful feeling that must be.
Well, we're waiting to see how far ahead of Michael Schumacher Kimi Raikkonen is as Baumgartner pits. Pizzonia then with a good amount of fuel on board for qualifying. Jenson Button stopped once. He's showing in 4th place at the moment. Trulli down in 5th. Don't know where he's disappeared to. And doing not very good lap times at all on this second set of tyres. There's Michael Schumacher. There'll be cries of foul because Massa, of course, with a Ferrari engine and gearbox and Bridgestone tyres, very much cost Montoya some time and that position.
Certainly did. It was a bit of a circumstance. There wasn't coming out of the pit lane right alongside Massa into Eau Rouge, and someone's got to give in a situation like that, because only one person's ever tried that there. Pizzonia comes into the pits then, the 6th different race leader of this Belgian Grand Prix. There he is, and Kimi Raikkonen is being shown, whoops, a bit slow away by Antonio Pizzonia. 7.9 then on the stop for the Williams driver.
Jenson Button up to P2, but yet to make a race stop. He's been in once under the safety car. Raikkonen then leads Michael Schumacher by 12.9 seconds now. So he's gained another couple of seconds during all of those stops. Looking good for Raikkonen at the moment. But none of the Michelin runners are going particularly quick. None of them at all, James.
No, absolutely not. What an amazing first 17 laps we've had here at Spa-Francorchamps. And as you can see, there are 27 still to go. Into the pits comes Felipe Massa, was running in 7th place. Kimi Raikkonen leads the Belgian Grand Prix on lap 20. Jenson Button, who made a very early stop to replace a nose cone on his BAR, is in 2nd place. Michael Schumacher, well, he's up into 3rd place. Let's see how that happened as Massa exits the pits.
Yes, truly with very poor pace at the moment. Michael Schumacher just breezed past him between Blanchimont and the bus stop. And Massa was also about to give him a hiding before he came in the pits. Look, and this is how easy it was. No chance for Trulli to go defensive and no point, really. He was missing a good 10 miles an hour there. And now he's got Montoya for company. This is for 4th and 5th places.
Well, what's very interesting is the speed trap, which is at the very end of the long straight after Eau Rouge, shows Trulli's going a very healthy speed through there, almost 200 miles an hour. But it's in the final part of the lap where Trulli is really struggling. Louise, perhaps you can shed some light on it.
Well, I've just been down to Renault to see if there's anything they can tell me about what's going on with Jarno Trulli. Clearly some kind of problem. They say it's not a technical issue. He's just really not happy with the rear of the car. He doesn't have any confidence in the car, so maybe his tyres.
So he came off Blanchimont very slowly then, which is why Michael just had so much momentum. We just saw Fisichella bouncing across the grass, I think at the Fagnes chicane, losing the many aerodynamic pieces from the side of the car, the barge boards in particular, and that will hurt his progress enormously, make his car virtually undrivable. And now Montoya really on the ragged edge, and he's got less of a run. And Trulli, will he try the same move he used on Michael Schumacher? Will Trulli know he's there? No, he will not know he's there. and spins out of the race, and Pitsonia passes his teammate.
Yeah, Pitsonia nicks through. Jarno Trulli put into a spin there by Juan Montoya. He knew he was behind him. He knew he was desperate to get past him. But when Montoya tried the same move on Trulli that he put successfully on Michael Schumacher in the early part of the Grand Prix, it put Trulli into a spin. We're joined from the BMW Williams garage now by Frank Durney. Frank, you're seeing the same pictures as us. Tell us what you think.
What happened to be, because I haven't got my earplugs into the drivers, but it looks like he tried to get a bit too close there. Maybe he wasn't seen, and round they both went. Bit of a shame.
Yeah, I think Montoya will just about get away with that, Frank, but I think he obviously made it work for him against Michael Schumacher, but truly seemed to have his mind somewhere else. We're now seeing another replay of it, and Montoya says, well, this has worked once for me, but I'm afraid that kind of was always on the cards, that one. It wasn't as clean. He wasn't as far alongside as he was Michael Schumacher. So now, Frank, you've got Pitsonia ahead of Montoya.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting as well, isn't it? They've both done a great job in getting up through the field from their poorish grid positions, and it's really a bit of a shame that Juan Pablo came out of the pits behind Massa. We might have seen a bit more racing then, because he really lost his place to Michael there. It's pretty exciting, isn't it?
It certainly is, Frank. We saw Massa held him up about 2 seconds just in that one lap there, straight after, as you say, Schumacher able to keep the lead at that point. But give us an overview of the strategy. What are you seeing here this afternoon? Who's running long? It seemed like Raikkonen put a fair bit of gas in the car.
Yeah, I think that quite a few people seem to have run a quite short stint. What's still going to be very interesting is to see whether who's running 2 stops and who's running 3, because this is one of the few circuits where either is possible. And so I think it will be quite interesting. By 2/3 of the way through the race, we'll probably know who's going for only 2 stops, and that will show a big difference in competitiveness, I think.
Jenson Button picks them from 3rd place. Out he pops onto the racetrack. You can see there is the Ferrari popping out. Incident involving cars 3 and 7 will be investigated after the race. That's Montoya and Jarno Trulli. So that's going to be interesting, isn't it?
So that means that he will, whoever they decide, if anybody was at fault, as Barrichello then with a lot of extra speed against Fisichella and takes the position. Remember, Fisichella, that's 6th place, is minus his barge boards, and his car will be sliding a lot and generally hurting the tyres more and more. As I think then Jenson, who's behind then?
Yeah, Jenson Button. He popped out behind the 2 of them.
Yeah, Button will be there after his pit stop. He was behind them too. So Fisichella will be under further pressure anytime soon.
Kimi Raikkonen leading the Grand Prix then on lap 22. We're at half distance in this enthralling Belgian Grand Prix. So much incident, so much overtaking, quite a few collisions, and you can see their confirmation of what I was just telling you from race control, that they're going to look at that afterwards. And of course, they give warnings nowadays, don't they? They don't like to take drivers out of the Grand Prix. Montoya himself, ironically, was the last person to really suffer from drive-through penalty towards the end of last season, the American Grand Prix, if you remember. He tagged Rubens Barrichello, got a drive-through, and that was the end of his World Championship. This year we have a different system.
I would put that, I mean, Trulli probably should have realised he would be there somewhere, because he's lacking straight line speed after poor cornering performance in Blanchimont, but that's sort of 70% Montoya's fault, 30% Trulli's fault in my humble opinion, as Jenson Button shapes up for a look up the inside of Fisichella, and that was candy from a baby. Fisichella's car hard to drive at the moment.
Yeah, we saw Fisichella struggling earlier on, knocked his front wing off. That's obviously to make a pit stop. And Jenson Button fighting his way through then now. He's up into 6th place. Only had one weekend this season, Jenson Button, where he hasn't scored World Championship points. It's been a fantastic year for him, and that looked pretty straightforward, didn't it? The next man up the road from Button, though, is Rubens Barrichello, and he's just over 4 seconds ahead, as Ted Kravitz has more news for us.
Jarno Trulli's miserable day continues. He comes in for a pit stop. They're not changing the nose. They could have done. We think he did 9.9 seconds. We think he did sustain damage when he clonked that wall at the bus stop. But interestingly, they had a new steering wheel ready for him. They didn't fit it. Could that also be part of his problems?
Yes, maybe they're just getting everything ready they can to, without enough information. But Trulli then was also being passed by Panis in the Toyota. So he was falling back quickly. He'll try a new set of tyres. if he can find some pace that way. Jenson Button up into 6th place now then.
Yeah, Jarno Trulli's only scored points twice in the last 6 races, and it's pretty slim pickings for him ever since it was announced that he was leaving the team, and we believe going to Toyota, but certainly it was announced he's leaving the team. It all seems to have gone a bit wrong for him. As we look at a super slow-mo of Kimi Räikkönen, little bits of debris and the shards of rubber flying off the rear wing then, but he looks pretty comfortable at the front at the moment, does Kimi Räikkönen.
Yeah, he just lost 1.2 of his lead for some reason. Raikkonen's lead down to 11.9 seconds now to Michael Schumacher. Pits only a further 11 seconds behind. Barrichello pits from P5. He's all out of sync, having had a new rear wing under the safety car, and there he is coasting in at just 50 miles an hour. Still that looks fast if you're standing there with your foot on the front jack. The lollipop comes in, and they'll turn over and say, you've got to put your foot on the brake earlier on to make sure the spindles don't spin, and then it'll be select first, and the lollipop goes up, and you go. It doesn't always get quite as well synchronised as that. But Barrichello away then. It's so difficult to work out all the various strategies this afternoon, how it's going to play out. We know they fueled Raikkonen very long. Surely he's on a 2-stopper.
That looked to me like Barrichello being fueled through to the finish, because we're just past half distance here. That was an enormous amount of fuel. Barrichello pitted then from 7th place. He'll have dropped behind Zonta, Massa, probably Panis as well, and maybe even Christian Klien. So Barrichello back to either 10th or 11th place at the moment. Räikkönen, his lead still being cut down by Michael Schumacher. It's 11.9 at the moment. Bitsonia still, though, on target for a podium at the moment. Lap 26 of 44. Just 19 to go then here at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium, where Michael Schumacher is bidding to become the first ever 7 times Formula One world champion. And you can see he's making short work of the Minardi of So Baumgartner there, carving his way through, putting yet another lap on Baumgartner. And, well, it's pretty good stuff, isn't it? You can see those wings flexing and bouncing and bumping on the way up the hill there, just to stay there to scoop the air up over the rear tyres, just to smooth the car's passage through the air. Raikkonen leading the Grand Prix by 13 seconds from Schumacher. Pitsonia is third at the moment, but he's sort of beginning to hold up his teammate Juan Montoya. Although he started to respond now, he's setting what looks like his best lap of the race so far. Just as Montoya started to get close to him, he's turned the wick up a little bit. He doesn't want to have to move out of the way for Montoya. Jenson Button about 6.5 seconds behind this battle of the two Williams drivers, and Fisichella, after an eventful afternoon of changing nose cones and such, is 4 seconds behind Jenson Button at the moment.
Yes, so Pitsonia then, he wants to stake a claim for a Williams drive. Should Button not move from BAR, and he does not want to be moved over from Montoya. Montoya got into the dirty air zone, and for sure they were in danger of having to tell Pitsonia to move out of the way, and he has responded. Ted has some further news on that.
Yeah, down at Williams, just talking to Frank Durney. He was actually saying that Pitsonia's engineer, Chevy Pujolar, is actually telling Antonio to push like hell. That's the only chance that he's got of staying ahead of Montoya. If he doesn't make up the time, then I think there's more of a you-know-what-to-do feeling. You know Frank Williams, he's so fair, he lets the drivers race themselves, but he will make sure that Pitsonia knows what to do. His teammate, who's faster, is behind.
Should be pushing like hell anyway. This is Formula One racing, this is the sharp end of it, and he shouldn't need to be reminded of that.
Certainly this man doesn't need any reminding. Kimi Raikkonen pushing as hard as he knows how, and this is his way. His lap time at the moment, a 1:46.2 on the last time, that's lap 26. Michael Schumacher's lap time in second place, 1:46.2. He's not catching the race leader, who has looked, you have to say, pretty good ever since the British Grand Prix, or really ever since this revised version of the McLaren was brought out. Raikkonen's driven it very, very strongly indeed. And, well, he ran in a second place to Michael Schumacher in the British Grand Prix, having qualified on pole position, had a woeful start to the season. But in this new car, he's got a lot of optimism, and he's got some new bits coming on for Monza in 2 weeks' time. They'll be testing them in the Monza test next week. And Kimi Raikkonen at the moment is looking pretty good to notch up his first Grand Prix victory of the season. It would be his first since Malaysia last year. It's been a long, long wait for Kimi Raikkonen. He's been there or thereabouts. He's had terrible luck. He's had wings flying off, engines blowing up. But right now, he's looking pretty good.
Only his second ever Grand Prix victory, but Michael Schumacher just easing the gap back though, 12.6 seconds at the moment. Pitsonia in third, a further 14 seconds adrift of this man Michael Schumacher. So he's pushing hard. If he's going to take the championship, he wants to do it with a win. We all know him well, but he doesn't appear to have that incredible pace we were expecting during the Grand Prix. But Barrichello in the sister car, of course, he's got to somehow score ahead of Michael Schumacher today to keep the World Championship alive. Is very slow, down in 9th place, can't catch Panis in the Toyota, doing 1:48, when Michael Schumacher's doing 1:45. So has Barrichello got further damage from that incident in the first corner when Mark Webber ran into the back of him? Remember, of course, Barrichello's also on the softer Bridgestone tyre. Is it just too soft?
Well, I wonder, but he certainly had a big whack from Mark Webber, didn't he, into turn one. Webber himself putting his hands up there in the interview with Louise Goodman and saying, it was my mistake, and I hit him pretty hard, knocked his rear wing off. Certainly had to replace it. Barrichello lost a lot of time in the pits, and as you say, Martin, struggling a little bit, over a minute behind the race leader now in 9th place, and crucially out of the World Championship points. It's all a little bit academic though. Schumacher only needing 2 points more than Barrichello to clinch his 7th title, and only 16 laps here to go, and Schumacher is turning the wick up. That last lap, a 1:45.503, a couple of tenths of a second faster than Kimi Raikkonen's best lap, which had been the fastest lap of the race so far. Schumacher is going for it. Now, we saw Fernando Alonso leading the race earlier on. He's talking to Louise.
Yeah, the best and the worst of it, leading the race and then 2 spins, but they didn't look to be totally your fault.
No. We had, unfortunately, a problem in the car. We had to investigate anyway. But seems like we had an oil leak. I saw in the car coming from the engine, we think. and was going to the rear tire, so probably was the starting of blow up. Probably.
Bad news in your championship battle against VAR.
Yes, but this you never know what can happen in the race. Maybe in the next race they have a problem. Next one we have. It's always like this. We have to work in the drivability. We have to work in the performance, and I think we can do it.
Thanks, Fernando.
He's remarkably calm about that, isn't he? He was driving beautifully, had the car well set up, nothing he could do about those spins. Pizzonia then still comfortably staying ahead of his teammate for third and fourth. Michael Schumacher keeps setting fastest laps in the mid 45, 1 minute 45s. Raikkonen's trying to respond. The gap 12.1 seconds. David Coulthard, third fastest man on the track. Remember, he lost about a minute and a half with a puncture, and he was now down in 13th place, but quickly catching Jarno Trulli in the second Renault.
Kimi Raikkonen comes into the pits then. You're not seeing that. You're seeing the Williams is out on track, but he's just gone past our commentary position. The race leader in the pits then. Ted.
And this is very good thinking, quick thinking from McLaren. They've seen the same thing that we've seen, that Michael is turning up the wick. And this is another long stop. They're going to think this should get Kimi to the end of the race, guys. What's the time on that? It should get him to the end of the race. And he's got a great chance of winning this one.
Certainly has. He's driving beautifully. He had a 12-second advantage over Michael Schumacher before that stopped. Michael Schumacher has taken the lead. Pizzonia is in second place as Montoya dives into the pits.
Yes, I don't think Pizzonia will be in second, James, because Raikkonen beat him out of the... He was still ahead of him on the road. I can see Pizzonia just creeping round La Source as Raikkonen joined the racetrack. So I think that was extremely good news for Kimi Raikkonen. He's not going to get mixed up with the Williams, one of which pitted anyway. I would imagine Montoya thinking he's just got to have a different strategy to clear his teammate as he can't drive up and pass him. What's this?
Jenson Button's got together with a Minardi, and I was just about to say they were going to halve the points advantage Renault has over them here at Spa-Francorchamps. Button on target for some points, but look at that, the tyres let go, and the poor old Minardi, absolute passenger in that one. Absolutely shocking luck for him. Jenson Button, the right rear Michelin, letting go pretty much at the maximum speed point.
Yeah, he'd already got a puncture. They're trying. Again, it's these shards of carbon fibre from the first lap incident, and there's loads more on the track now. Surely they'll have to bring the safety car out to clear that one out at 205 miles an hour going in there. They're having to sweep the way through. But what they're talking about is making the teams cover the carbon fibre in a Kevlar or another material that just contains the pieces. And Button then, the rear tyre, he obviously didn't know he'd got a puncture. What happens is the speed, the centrifugal force keeps the tyre inflated, and then bang, he lets go because it gets too hot. Michael then choosing this moment. Safety car has been deployed. They've chosen this moment to pit Ted.
Oh, but this is a disaster for Kimi Raikkonen. Michael comes out. Is that a long stop towards the end of the race? We think it is. So there you go. They're both fueled to the end of the race. Juan Pablo Montoya is also coming in now. But guys, that surely eradicates Raikkonen's advantage.
Absolutely, Ted. It's the worst thing could possibly have happened. It wasn't Montoya. It was Pizzonia making the stop there, because Montoya already been in twice. We saw him just before that incident of Jenson Button. So Pizzonia also getting a good break in his battle with Juan Montoya. But from the point of view of who's going to win this Grand Prix, Kimi Raikkonen, there you can see formed up behind the safety car, and what was 12 seconds is now nothing. Here's a replay from onboard Montoya's car of that Button incident.
Yes, they're all fueled to the end now then, and there's the debris. Minardi on the right, the innocent Minardi on the right, Jenson Button walking back home. And some made pit stops under safety car, which is almost a free pit stop in terms of track time. Raikkonen didn't. Michael Schumacher did pit. It depends where he comes out in the snake of cars, how close he is to Kimi Raikkonen in terms of from the quick shot we saw. We think he's literally right behind him. They released David Coulthard because they caught up with Coulthard initially, and then they let him pass because he can go round to the back of the snake. Plays nicely into Coulthard's hands in that respect, providing he can get up to the back of the queue before they restart the Grand Prix. A lot of debris at the top of the hill.
So there you go, behind the safety car, leader Kimi Raikkonen. The big winners are the two cars behind him. Michael Schumacher has taken his 12-second lead and made it nothing thanks to the safety car. And Antonio Pizzonia is back out in front of Juan Montoya, having had a very cheap pit stop. 14 laps to go here at Spa-Francorchamps, and we're behind the safety car. Lap 32 of the 44-lap Belgian Grand Prix. James Allen and Martin Brundle with you. It's been an extraordinary race, an awful lot of retirements. Jenson Button there, you can see standing at the side of the track. He had a 200-mile-an-hour tyre blowout right on the long straight after Eau Rouge. He collided with Zolt Baumgartner's Minardi. Both of them are out of the race. And here, also out of the race, is Antonio Pizzonia in the Williams. Pulling off to the side of the track then, Pizzonia. We're looking... you can see him on the left-hand side. He's waving at Montoya to go through. Clearly, he knows he's got some problem. Looks like it's with the drive of the car. It's not going at the sort of speed it should be. Right out of the hairpin, you can see he's got no drive. He knew he was in trouble. And, well, he was heading for a podium. Are they tears? Certainly frustration. These are the moments a sportsman dreads, but he drove so well until that point. Ted?
Down at Williams, we think it's a gearbox problem. Apparently, they tell me that Pizzonia radioed back. He said, I've lost all the gears, I've lost drive, so a gearbox problem. They've had a couple of gearbox gremlins earlier on in the season of Williams, but nothing for quite a while. What a shame. Gearbox problem putting end to Antonio Pizzonia.
Yeah, good drive from him then. Now this is all about the safety car's not coming in yet according to the computer. Now he goes round again. So Michael Schumacher will be feeling under a lot of pressure. Remember, his car doesn't appear to have good grip after a safety car pair. We saw that earlier in the race. Barrichello now up into 5th place there. It's all played into his hands after the early disaster of turn 1 of the first lap. Michael knows he's got to stay so close to Kimi Raikkonen because Montoya is ace at these restarts. Done a lot of it in America, and Michael knows he's either going to be giving out pressure to Raikkonen or receiving a lot of it from Montoya.
You can see he's working very hard here to keep heating the tyres. We saw early in the Grand Prix we had a safety car right at the very start, and after that Michael Schumacher dropped several places. He was passed by Coulthard, he was passed by Juan Montoya spectacularly into the bus stop chicane because his tyres not up to temperature, and well, Montoya will be looking to capitalise on that again. They will want this safety car to go as slow as possible. Raikkonen will make sure they go as slow as possible. Louise Goodman, though, is with the boss of the BAR team. We've seen Jenson Button crashing out. Perhaps Dave Richards can shed some light.
Yeah, I am with Dave Richards. It's been a bad weekend for the team. Really been a very lucky escape there for Jenson.
Yes, obviously it's the high speed part of the circuit, and he got away with it relatively lightly, I'd say.
Now, the Michelin technicians have been to see you. Have they been able to shed any light on what had occurred?
Well, clearly not. We need to look at and quite frankly, with the amount of debris around there now, it'll be hard to tell. But it's obviously a high-speed part of the circuit, and a bit of debris pickup. Who knows?
Bad luck, David.
Thank you.
Yes, I think Jenson was very lucky that the Minardi was parked alongside him. Unlucky for the Minardi, but he was just keeping out of the way and letting Jenson go through. But I think otherwise Jenson would have speared off heavily to the right at a bad angle. So as strange as that may seem. And there's also some concern on that curb on the inside there of the bus stop. It's quite a sharp angle, but it was Jenson's right rear that was damaged or blew up, not his left rear, which is the one that would be damaged on that curb. So you've got to assume it would be debris. Raikkonen then leads from Michael Schumacher, Montoya, Barrichello showing fourth now. Zonta from last on the grid, fifth, Massa sixth, Fisichella seventh, Panis eighth, Klein ninth, and Jarno Trulli 10th. Coulthard has joined the back of the pack.
Well, I tell you, the luckiest man out there has got to be Rubens Barrichello. He had to have a rear wing change earlier on. It looked like he was totally out of this race, but you can see there he is on the racetrack. Not long ago, I was telling you, he was a minute behind the race leader. The safety car has changed all of that, and he's now just 3.5 seconds behind the race leader. He's at a 56.5 second present. Amazing.
It always amazes me that in the high-tech world of Formula 1 there's a man with a broom cleaning up while they're losing tyre pressure, losing tyre temperature, and we're waiting for this race. It's an amazing race to get underway. Michael Schumacher just can't stay close enough, can he, to the gearbox of Kimi Raikkonen. But it has to be said, it was Michael who had the pace before this yellow flag situation, safety car situation. Michael had the faster car.
Certainly did. Ferrari guys waiting for the restart. We're all waiting for the restart. There you can see Pitsonia. He's not waiting for the restart. He's just waiting for a lift back to the paddock. We're being told that the safety car is going to come in at the end of this lap, and that's what we all wanted to hear. We'll have 11 fast and furious laps then to the finish of the Belgian Grand Prix. Very big crowd here today on a very unusually sunny day in Belgium for the Spa-Francorchamps Grand Prix. 23 the track temperature, air temperature 20 degrees. It was raining heavily yesterday, but the sun's come out and it's shone on a truly fantastic race. All kinds of stuff going off, many different race leaders. Both McLarens have led it, both Renaults have led it, Michael Schumacher has led it, both of the Williams drivers have led it as well. Who will lead lap 44? That is the question.
I thought I heard a sick car in there, but it's the V8 safety car. You can hear burbling away through there every so often, occasionally a bit of a helicopter, but Michael needs to be careful not to run into the back of Kimi Raikkonen. Raikkonen quite capable of playing some games. And Schumacher will turn off the traction control. Look at the front left tyre. Look how low the pressures are. The tyre's waggling around on the rim. That's just how low those tyre pressures have got in a half-speed corner, really.
That was absolutely extraordinary. We'll talk about that in a moment. But Jenson Button, who had that 200-mile-an-hour tailgate, is now talking to Louise.
Jenson, very nasty incident. I don't suppose Lot Baumgartner will see it this way, but it was kind of lucky for you in a way that he was there. Otherwise, you'd have been in the barrier, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it was lucky in one way, but then it could have been horrific if I'd hit his back tyre. So we were very, very lucky. I don't think I've ever been that lucky in an accident. So.
How much warning did you have of that puncture?
Not very much. There's a bump on the straight, and after the bump I felt something was wrong. I thought we might have had a failure, and then it just snapped and I couldn't do anything. I mean, the problem is as soon as you lift off the throttle you get a different sensation through the rear wheels, and that causes the problem. That's what you obviously do naturally.
Thanks, gents.
Still a few bits of blackout on the track there. Still a few, probably rubber, I think, more than debris. One hopes so. Anyway, certainly we've seen a heck of a lot of debris going down. But this is the crucial moment now. Michelin tyres on the McLaren. Bridgestones don't like these restarts on Michael Schumacher's Ferrari. Look at Montoya in position as well. Close up behind. Raikkonen's waiting and waiting. The safety car is going to come in. He's playing cat and mouse. He's going and then stopping. He's really teasing Michael Schumacher. There is the safety car. A long, long way ahead. When will Raikkonen nail that throttle? Will Montoya? We won't be able to pass him, remember. No one can pass anybody until they cross the start-finish line. But here we go. He's gone. And they're attacking as the way down to the bus stop chicane. Montoya can't pass Michael Schumacher until this race is restarted, though.
I wonder if he knows that. He's not close enough to pass him anyway. But Raikkonen playing the games we expected, just backing the pack right up. I almost expected Schumacher to draw alongside and say, get on with it. But at the moment, he's safe from Juan Pablo Montoya. But how long will it take for the Ferrari to get up to speed? At the moment, he looks like he's got better grip. It's Montoya that's locking his wheels. There comes Klein up the inside of Olivier Panis.
That's for points.
Yeah, that is for points for the Jaguar team. Panis is 8th at the moment. Coulthard then, after his tyre blowout, has gained back much of the time lost. He's just behind Jarno Trulli.
Kimi Raikkonen then leads the Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher is second. Montoya is third. Barrichello is fourth. Zonta, who started last, is now in fifth place for Toyota, with Massa in sixth place behind him. Seventh Fisichella in the other Sauber, and now eighth. Heading for his first points finish of the season, the first of his career, is Christian Klein in the Jaguar, having just passed Olivier Panis there at the restart. But at the front, how is Michael Schumacher doing? Are his tyres coming up to temperature yet? Can Juan Montoya pass him as he did so spectacularly after the first restart early in the Grand Prix? Here's Klein, look at young Klein here, having a go at Fisichella. This is for seventh.
Well, remember, Fisichella's missing some barge boards and aerodynamic pieces after he bounced across the grass, and he's on the Bridgestones that take too long to get up to speed. Klein, they're sort of wasting a lot of energy darting around. He needs to pick the moment and seize it. And Fisichella just calmly taking the racing line. David Coulthard has passed Jarno Trulli and is now right up behind Olivier Panis, and is now in with a great chance of some World Championship points. Some consolation after he's running second so nicely earlier on.
Well, a tremendous amount of talk behind the scenes this weekend about the rules for next year. The team owners all getting stuck into what kind of cars we'll have next year. But the answer is there's nothing much wrong with Formula One at the moment when you get days like this, is there? Absolutely tremendous racing. All you need to do is put it on good tracks like Spa-Francorchamps. Keep it away from the places where nobody can overtake. Hockenheim, you got overtaking. Bahrain, we had overtaking. And here, we've had absolutely loads of it. And it looks to me as though Christian Klein is intent on doing some more.
Yeah, this is going to be a good fight to the end. Fisichella, Klein, Panis, Coulthard, Trulli, all line astern. Raikkonen's lead, 1.3 seconds over Michael Schumacher. Schumacher clearly with a better car than he had at the last restart. Montoya further 1.2 down, and Coulthard with a better speed on the top of Raidillon. More speed then into Lecombe, and he takes the position away from Panis. Klein next in David Coulthard's sights.
Yeah, Coulthard up into 9th place. Terrific move by him. You can see Fisichella there in 7th place. Up the road from him is Felipe Massa in the sister Sauber. But, Massa had a few problems himself on the opening lap. Some damage, contact with other cars. Fisichella has had a new front wing, so nobody really of these guys has escaped any kind of injury except Christian Klein. He's got a healthy car under him, and he looks like he's pretty intent on doing some work here. Raikkonen leading by 1.3 at the front from Michael Schumacher. Further 1.2 behind them is Juan Montoya. Rubens Barrichello fourth, a second and a half behind Montoya. Zonta still there in fifth, and as we said, Massa in sixth at the moment with just 9 to go here at Spa. 7 laps to go in the Belgian Grand Prix, and Kimi Raikkonen is leading Michael Schumacher by 1.5 seconds. Raikkonen bidding for his first Grand Prix victory of the 2004 season. Only Jarno Trulli has got up on the top step, apart from Michael Schumacher this year. Can a McLaren driver do it? Raikkonen's been threatening to all summer, and here at Spa-Francorchamps he's really kept his head. He's driven absolutely wonderfully, and look at this. Juan Montoya was in 3rd place, and that's yet another puncture. We've seen collisions, a lot of collisions this afternoon, and a lot of punctures, but you have to say, particularly the Michelin runners. David Coulthard had one, Jenson Button a spectacular one, now Montoya.
Yeah, Michael Schumacher's going to take a good half second out of Raikkonen's lead, 4/10 in fact. But remember, just before the last pit stops, it was Michael Schumacher who had the faster car, and now he can continue to put Raikkonen under pressure. Ted.
Montoya in, Sam Michaels taking a good look at the rear wing to see if that's damaged. It looks okay, but has he switched off the engine? He has. He has switched off the engine. So retirement then. Oh, what luck. Retirement for Juan Pablo Montoya. But just before we go back to you, Pascal Vasselon from Michelin came up to Ron Dennis at McLaren to assure him that these weren't pure tyre failures, that they must have been the result of some debris.
Whoa, absolutely huge impact there. Who is that? It's the leader, is it? Or is it Coulthard? It's Coulthard. David Coulthard, 8th place. Well, he was hit really hard years ago by Michael Schumacher, and look what's happened to him. A piece of bodywork there over his, it looks like his own front wing is over his own rear wing. Absolutely enormous frontal impact. And David Coulthard, who was in a points position, look at this, whack into the back of Klein.
Yeah, he went to pull around the outside of Klein. Klein went to take the normal racing line. DC just a touch too close on the top of Radion, and that could have been a seriously nasty accident. Will put him out of, he was in a points paying position in P8 and was just about to nail Klein for 7. So Coulthard then another difficult afternoon. What's the lead? The lead's still 1.1 seconds. We have now just 9 runners, and the safety car's been deployed.
It has. Well, once again, I think, it's pretty right, you'd have to say, there is clearly more carbon fibre debris on the racetrack. That has been, as much as anything else here this afternoon, the story of this Grand Prix. We've had collisions. They've led to little bits of carbon bodywork and parts of suspensions being left on the racetrack. It's cut tyres, and we've had high-speed blowouts because there are so many high-speed parts of this Spa-Francorchamps circuit. The latest victim is David Coulthard, but Jenson Button has also fallen victim to it. So has Fernando Alonso. And, well, it's very much, as I say, one of the stories of this Grand Prix. So another restart, another safety car procedure first, then another restart. Just 5 laps to go here. And we've seen how the Michelin tyres tend to prefer the restarts compared to the Bridgestones. Is this going to play into Kimi Raikkonen's hands? Is this going to give him that little advantage he needs? As you can see again, that horrifying shunt for David Coulthard.
Yeah, he managed to keep it out of the barrier, so his suspension should be intact. I don't know, a lot of, he's lost his camera, I noticed, and other things like that, so a lot of debris streaming back over the car. And I don't think Klein made a big move. He obviously surprised David Coulthard. Coulthard very, very close and beginning to move around the outside, just as Klein decided to head towards that side of the track. One of those things, I think, but surely Coulthard out of the race, and another chance then for Michael Schumacher to close up on Kimi Raikkonen.
There you can see David Coulthard under the watchful eye of Ron Dennis. One of his cars is leading this Grand Prix. His other one was in 8th place. Antonio Pizzonia, well, he had a very strong afternoon for BMW Williams. Looked like he was on for a podium, Louise, but it wasn't to be.
Yeah, that's right. Poor Antonio. As James has just said, a very strong race. Looked like you were going onto the podium. All came to nothing.
Well, I came to Spa with a target to be on the podium, my first podium in F1, and I think I proved today that was possible, Unfortunately, I lost all the gears on the car. I don't know exactly what happened yet, if it was a gearbox problem or drive shaft or something. It's a bad day for the team because I just heard Juan Pablo had a problem as well, and we'll see. Day to forget for sure.
But like you say, you came here with a point to prove. Do you feel you've proved something?
I don't know. I think it's up to you guys to to judge that. I know I can do a good job, and I think I'm doing a good job for the team.
Bad luck.
I think without doubt he proved that he can run at the sharp end of a Grand Prix and was handling it nicely. When we saw the forward shot, the head-on shot there, Klein did move across the track a bit more than it first appeared. Whatever, he is entitled to do that. It's the racing line, but he quite clearly surprised David Coulthard with that. Coulthard did graze the barrier, as we also saw from that face-on shot. Can he get back to the back of the pack? And I'd just be slightly nervous of what else is damaged on that McLaren, but more debris on the racetrack then. We know that Raikkonen can control the pace and should have a quicker car, certainly over the first 2 laps of the restart.
Only 10 runners then. The last man to retire was Juan Montoya, and Louise has got him as well.
Juan Pablo, I was expecting you to be storming out of the garage. You're looking fairly sort of calm.
Oh, what can you do? It's racing. It's not the first time that happened, and what can you do?
It seemed you had a puncture, but then you've retired the car. Was there some other issue as well?
No, when the tire broke, I don't think it was a puncture. I think something major happened on the rear tire. It just broke all the rear suspension, broke everything.
Safer to stop. Thanks, Juan Pablo.
Thank you, Louise. Working hard down there. Let's just recap on what happened this afternoon. Then the first lap crashes triggered by Mark Webber took out Sato, Webber, Bruni, Pantano. Also put Rubens Barrichello out of contention, it seemed. Had to change his rear wing, but he's managed to fight back. The second safety car really helped him and brought him back into contention. He's on, would you believe, for 3rd place here this afternoon. But if it stays like this, Michael Schumacher will be world champion for the 7th time, because he'll have the 2 points more that he needs over Rubens Barrichello. He is second, Barrichello is in 3rd place. Kimi Raikkonen, just one of a number of race leaders we've had here this afternoon. In the early stages, it was all about the 2 Renaults, Jarno Trulli and Fernando Alonso. Tremendous pass by Juan Montoya on Michael Schumacher at the first restart. Safety car coming in this lap then. Jarno Trulli, well, he was put into a spin by Juan Montoya. A very, very speculative passing move that will be investigated after the race by the stewards. That put Trulli right down the field. He's now in 9th place. Tremendous battle then between Montoya and teammate Antonio Pizzonia, who then had to retire. We've just heard from him. We've had 3 safety cars, lots of incidents, lots of overtaking, and well, at the end of this, we will have 3 laps of flat-out racing. And if history and precedent shows anything, it's at this circuit this afternoon, it's that the Michelin tyres on the McLaren of Kimi Raikkonen will enjoy this restart more than the Bridgestones on Michael Schumacher's car. But Michael Schumacher is something special. Can he, this time, make a difference? He really wants to seal this championship with a win.
Yes, how much of a risk will Michael Schumacher take? 7th World Championship there. Does he really need to have a go at Kimi Raikkonen? I think he probably will if he gets a half a chance.
Certainly hope so.
Yeah, so do I. But Raikkonen then, he can control the game here yet again. He's getting quite good at this afternoon. And the McLaren will be frustrated that it was the incident with Klein and Coulthard that created this safety car. But or will they? Because Michael Schumacher was just getting into his rhythm again.
Certainly was.
The gap was down to 1.1. He'd just taken 4/10 out of Raikkonen in one flying lap. So and Raikkonen's gone.
Certainly has. Kimi Raikkonen rather telegraphed that one, but Schumacher was right with him. Nailed his throttle almost the same place. And you can see the margin, not a huge one for Kimi Raikkonen on this restart. Rubens Barrichello is in 3rd place behind that Jordan of Nick Heidfeld that's managed to resume and get himself in the middle of all that. And then you can see Zonta is there as well, on for 4th place here this afternoon if he can keep it going. Ricardo Zonta replaced Cristiano Di Matta, who was dropped by the Toyota team. And what an amazing turnaround for him in his 2nd Grand Prix for the team, up in 4th place. Behind him is Massa. Then it's Fisichella. You can see side by side there with Christian Klein on the way down the hill. That's the battle for 6th and 7th places.
Coulthard could still get a point amazingly right on the back of that pack again. There is Klein, Panis, Trulli, Coulthard, and the Toyota's blown. There'll be cars going through that in the background. The Toyota then of Zonta out of 4th place then, Zonta out of the window. Coulthard got past Trulli in the middle of all of that too. Disaster for young Ricardo Zonta. two Brazilians who have been so unlucky this afternoon.
Yeah, both of them trying to get themselves a drive next year, Pitsonia and Zonta. We're riding on board with Michael Schumacher, and that grey and black speck in the distance is Kimi Räikkönen. Look how hard he's pushing. Look how hungry he is to win his first Grand Prix of the season. Fantastic drive today here by Kimi Räikkönen, really underlining his class. And it was very telling on Friday when Ross Brawn had a press conference. He was talking about what happens in the years after Schumacher, and he said, well, I think Rubens Barrichello would be a worthy successor. And everyone said yes. He said, but then again, he said, we have got an eye on Fernando Alonso and Kimi Räikkönen. And certainly here this afternoon, Kimi Räikkönen has really underlined his credentials. Ron Dennis will have him nailed as hard down to his contract at McLaren for as long as possible. Certainly judging by this performance, he really wanted to beat Schumacher this year, in this all-conquering year for Michael Schumacher, and he's just 2 laps away from achieving it.
What about Barrichello, as Räikkönen sets a new lap record of 1:45.1. He's got some grip, hasn't he? Fuel getting nicely down now as they home in on the end of the Grand Prix. Barrichello up in 3rd place. He was last at one point. He had a new rear wing early on in the race, which is normally a park it and go home. Incredible afternoon of racing, but Räikkönen is absolutely fine. And Coulthard passes Panis. That's for 7th place. He's now got 2 points in the bag, and he'll be having a look at the back of Klein for the second time this afternoon quite soon, and he'll be somewhat more cautious this time.
Certainly will, having hit him last time and knocked his nose off. A spectacular crash for David Coulthard. His eyes are going to be the size of saucers at the end of this Grand Prix. He's got a Jordan to navigate first, the lapped car of Nick Heidfeld, 4 laps down on the race leaders. Let's hope he gets out of David's way as quick as possible. There you go, well done Nick, and Coulthard is after Klein again.
I tell you, super brave stuff from Coulthard, because having sort of scraped along the barrier 180 miles an hour, the nose came off above his head, wiped the camera out just above his head, and he's gone back out and nailed it. Quite impressed with that. Räikkönen, though, even more impressive with a 1:45.1. Lead was 2.3 seconds. Barrichello falling away, is 5 seconds behind in 3rd. So Massa and Fisichella in the 2 Saubers then, 4th and 5th.
Well, Kimi Räikkönen absolutely flying his last lap of 1:45.1, and that's as fast as anything we've seen here this afternoon. Mesmerising pace from this young man from Finland, Kimi Räikkönen, just 24 years of age. Look at that, extraordinary pace, the kind of driving we're used to seeing from Michael Schumacher, and now he's going to cross the line to start his final lap of the Belgian Grand Prix. Schumacher is over 2 seconds behind him, and his World Championship is his, provided he can just complete the last lap. He's now 3.5 seconds behind. Surely he's settled for second on the road. It'll hurt him to finish second on the road. He doesn't like it at all, but he will have his 7th world title with Rubens Barrichello 3rd behind him. Nothing he can do to prolong this championship battle. Amazing stuff here at Spa-Francorchamps. Massa up to 4th, Fisichella 5th, Klein 6th, 7th, Coulthard 8th, Panis. Toyota look like they'll get some points here this afternoon. Christian Klein will get his first points of the season in 6th place for Jaguar.
He will indeed. Panis and Trulli look like they're going to miss out on the points. There are just 10 runners at the moment, with Heidfeld bringing up the rear in the Jordan. The sort of day where Jordan and Minardi might hope they could steal some points, but doesn't look like it's going to happen. Minardi's so unlucky, being Bruni getting caught up in somebody else's accident on the first lap, and then Baumgartner just taken out of the race as Jenson Button had a puncture, so they've been plain unlucky. But at the moment then, it's Panis bringing up the rear in 8th place for the final point. Räikkönen, Michael Schumacher, Barrichello, Massa, Fisichella 5th, Klein 6th, Coulthard up to 7th. As I said, Panis 8th.
Well, word clearly hasn't reached Kimi Räikkönen that Schumacher has settled for 2nd place. Absolutely flying, total commitment, absolutely amazing performance here. Into the bus stop for the final time. A 27 race losing streak for Kimi Räikkönen comes to an end. He missed out on the world title by only 2 points last year, but he's beaten Michael Schumacher in the Belgian Grand Prix. A magnificent win for Kimi Räikkönen. Well done to him, but Michael Schumacher gets his 7th Formula One World Championship on a truly eventful day for Formula One racing. Some questions certainly to be answered after the Grand Prix, but no doubt who the winner is. It's Kimi Räikkönen, and he's known as the Iceman, but even he could excuse himself for a little emotion now, I think.
Well, he had speed, didn't he, right from the beginning. He hunted down the Renaults very quickly. He was just hooked up from the word go, and very much deserved that victory, Kimi Raikkonen. Brilliantly taken, kept his head through all the turmoil. Obviously kept out of the debris too. One of the lucky Michelin runners not to pick up a puncture this afternoon, but won it with flair and speed.
And a huge boost for the McLaren team after such a difficult afternoon. A difficult season, I should say, for them. Very poor start, with Raikkonen retiring from the first 3 Grand Prix. And that smile of Ron Dennis's says it all. We're back in business. We've got a quick car, and we've used it very effectively here at Spa this weekend. Raikkonen winning the Grand Prix. Great drive by him. Really gutsy drive by David Coulthard after all his problems, that huge crash. Gutsy drives right the way through the field, Martin. This is probably the most difficult driver of the day decision you'll ever have to reach, isn't it?
Oh, I didn't even give it any thought yet. I think it's comfortably Raikkonen, to be honest. Raikkonen was the man that made the difference. Ted.
Here with Ron Dennis as we watch Michael Schumacher. He may be celebrating a 7th World Championship, Ron, but I think this is the story of the day. A great drive by Kimi.
Great job. Obviously delighted. Very emotional. But he just, on the day, delivered. So many issues that we handle, the pace cars and everything, and his sensational fastest lap just when it mattered.
Where does that emotion come from? The pain of the beginning of the season?
No, we exist to win.
What do you think the decisive factor was today for Kimi?
Well, I think we really sacrificed some performance yesterday to have the speed today. And at the end of the day, it was all about yesterday. Very frustrating. He lost 1.2 seconds on the bus stop in his qualifying lap yesterday, which would put him 4th on the grid. He had an impact with one of the Saubers and damaged the floor, which we had to sort of accommodate in diff settings, but at the end of the day, he just did a great job.
Very emotional. Thanks very much, Ron Dennis.
Yeah, Kimi Raikkonen starting 10th on the grid, as Ron Dennis said. Difficult day for them yesterday, but tremendous performance today. What do you think made the difference today for Raikkonen?
I think he had just raw speed around here that didn't, as Ron pointed out, wasn't fully demonstrated yesterday. Remember, he made that error, didn't he, in the final chicane, and sort of threw it away, really. But made up for it this afternoon with just incredible pace, kept out of trouble, kept out of the debris, and didn't get flustered when he had Michael Schumacher breathing down his neck and catching him there on a couple of occasions, and still had the audacity to play around with the safety car situation and just tuck Michael up, and he tried to back him into Montoya a couple of times.
Well, the day, of course, belonging to Michael Schumacher with his 7th World Championship, but certainly a lot of people are going to be talking about the performance of this young man, and he sort of spoiled Michael's party in a little way, hasn't he? We'll be talking about Schumacher, no doubt, plenty in the rest of the programme, but just assess for us the quality of Kimi Raikkonen. Is he the best after Schumacher, or is he as good as Schumacher? Where is he?
I think the consensus in the paddock is Raikkonen is the most polished all-round performer alongside or just behind Michael Schumacher, and I think we're all looking forward to Kimi Raikkonen, Fernando Alonso, Mark Webber, Jenson Button into the future. That's going to be something quite spectacular. So we've got some brilliant talent coming along. At the moment, Raikkonen is the shining light there.
So Ferrari congratulating themselves. In Hungary a fortnight ago, it was a Constructors' Championship clinched, 6th in a row. Here it's the 5th Drivers' Championship in a row for Michael Schumacher, his 7th overall. 1994, he won it against Damon Hill at the last Grand Prix. 95, again Damon Hill, won it before the end of the season. The year 2000, tremendous race with Mika Hakkinen. The final Grand Prix of the season, he won it. 2001 against Coulthard, long before the end. Again, same story in 2002 against Barrichello. Last year, it went right to the wire between him and Kimi Raikkonen, and he won it, scraped home by 2 points. But this year he has utterly dominated the championship, won it well before the end of the season. And here at Spa, which has never seen a champion crowned before, it's about to salute the first ever 7 times Formula One world champion. The man on your left, but the man in the middle, standing higher, is Kimi Raikkonen.
Kimi Räikkönen, the trophy presented to him by Didier Reynders, the Vice Prime Minister. There's a happy man, well done Kimi. And to the winning constructor, West McLaren Mercedes, the trophy presented to Ron Dennis, the team principal, by Jean-Claude Van Cauwenberg, the Minister-President of Wallonie. To the second place driver, Michael Schumacher, the trophy presented by Michel Verden, Minister of Finance, Wallonie. Whoa, 7 World Championship titles. And to the third place driver, Rubens Barrichello, the trophy presented by François Coligny, the President of the RACB. Well done, gentlemen. And the podium party will now leave. And Kimi's going to have a drink first, thank you very much. But now, the champagne!
Van België hier op het circuit van Spa-Francorchamps met Kimi Räikkönen, Michael Schumacher en Rubens Barrichello op het erepodium. Zij gaan nu richting de persconferentie. Schumacher, Michael Schumacher, Ferrari, de 7e wereldtitel neemt hij weer naar huis. Hier vanuit het circuit Spa-Francorchamps. Van wandeling hierboven in de microcabine, dames en heren, gedurende 3 dagen. U gebruikt verslag hebben mogen doen van dit grootste autosportevenement wat ons land kent. Elk seizoen weer. Hopelijk nog voor lange tijd terug op de kalender. En hopelijk dat we nog voor lange tijd terug bij u mogen zijn.